All right, we're live. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. I am Lauren Tracy. I am co-founder of X-Factor Filmmakers and writer and director of the movie we're going to be talking about in addition to the studio, Sweet Desert Plum. This here is Hannah Hunt. She is going to be our moderator tonight. She is one of our interns. She's a student at Emerson here in Boston, a film student. And she also blogs for the website. Hi. Hannah's going to be in charge of the questions that we have set up for ourselves, but you guys are welcome to also ask your own questions throughout, which we will get to as they come in and as we are available to talk about them. Okay, a few things before we introduce our producers. One of them is going to be a little bit late as she is in Los Angeles and still in a meeting right now, as it's still light out probably there. But some basic information. One, this is their first Google Hangout live, so any technical glitches, please bear with us. And if you have any suggestions for how to improve what we're doing, you can go ahead and email us. You can email me, Lauren Tracy at xfactorfilm.com. And if you're attending from our website, then above the video, you'll see a link in red that says Hangout event page on Google+. And if you click on that, that will bring you to a login for Google if you're not already logged in, and then you can play this video from there, and that will open up a chat. And the other cool thing about today is that we are going to be giving away the script for the first time. So the Sweet Desert Palm feature film script is going to be yours to read if you would like to. And underneath the video at our website, you can fill out one of two forms. You can sign up for the email list, and then you'll get the script within 24 hours. Or if you're already signed up for it, then you can fill out the form to the right and say that you're already signed up for the list, but you would like to read the script anyway. So go ahead and do that anytime between now and midnight Pacific time, and we'll make sure to send it to you. All right, cool. Anything else here? That's it. Let's go to Ashley, one of our producers. Ashley, introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Ashley Sneed. I am a producer based in New York City, and I have done different short films that have played a lot of film festivals, music videos. I'm excited to work with Lauren on Sweet Desert Palm. We met probably about a year ago through Dogfish Accelerator. The people there introduced us, and I came on board pretty much immediately to work on the film. So what else should I say about myself?
About your entrepreneurial background, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh yeah, so I'm a producer and I'm also an entrepreneur. I've had a business for the last probably 7 years in the children's fashion industry. So we sell to all stores around the world, and so really for me, I love films. I love the filmmaking process, but I really come to it from the entrepreneurial side. So very interested in really creating a small business, marketing it, putting all the pieces together, bringing it to the world. That's what I get really excited about. So.
Cool, thanks. And I'll just give you a brief background on myself. I went to film school at Rochester Institute of Technology, and then I lived in Los Angeles for 3 years, where I worked in all aspects of independent film, but mainly what I did while writing and directing my own things on the side and learning was editing, and I edited short films, music videos, even corporate videos, and then 2 independent feature films, and I learned a lot on those. And when I started writing Sweet Desert Palm, I spent a few months in New York City, which is where I met Ashley. That's the program that she was talking about, Dogfish Accelerator. And then I moved back to Boston, and that's where I reside now. Cool. Should we get started with some questions?
Sure.
Okay. Since there's not here, we can do this one.
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Lauren, why don't you tell us what you think or what badass means to you.
Yeah, okay. So I've been thinking a little bit about this recently. I've been having to pitch the company a lot because we are looking for funding right now for both the company and the film. And I always say that we are a studio dedicated to making and curating badass female entertainment. And some people get it right away, and some people sort of look at me sideways and go, what do you mean by that? And to me, it was just inherent. It made sense to me that it was sort of an edgier description of female content where you can sometimes get the impression that, we're talking about chick flicks or something like that, something on a little bit of the softer side, and that's really the opposite of what we do, at least on the female spectrum. But for me personally, and you asked me this question yesterday, and I thought about it for a while, and I realized that, and I was listening to a TED Talk with Tally Gevinson of Rookie Magazine, who is a phenomenal younger role model of mine. I think she's like 18 or something like that. Started this amazing website for girls called Rookie Mag, and she is really authentic, and she's just unapologetic for who she is. And she doesn't describe herself as badass, but when I was thinking of why I want to be involved with things that are quote-unquote badass, I realized that for me, it means anything that makes me feel confident or powerful in some way, where I think that women aren't generally in society, quote-unquote, allowed to feel that way as much as men are. And I think that that really excites me. So that makes sense. That's what it means.
Mm-hmm. Who is a badass for you? Like in film, who do you think is a badass?
There are a lot of badasses in film. There's a lot more badasses in television actually right now. I think the original badass in film for me was Lara Croft. And that's just a fun movie I've liked for a really long time.
Which is from the Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Lara Croft from the Tomb Raider.
Yeah, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider. That movie, and then of course she's lived on in video games. Ash, who do you think is badass? Do you have sort of a go-to character that you like?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, the first thing I was thinking about was when we were talking the other week just about like current TV and how on Thursday night you have Scandal and then How to Get Away with Murder, and so all the characters on there are just really interesting, and that's sort of the first thing I thought about. Yeah, so I'm blanking on her name, but whatever the character's name in Scandal, I mean, she's awesome. The PR, the main character. Mm-hmm. What's her? Olivia Pope. There we go. Yeah, she's super badass. I mean, in a different way, like obviously not guns and everything, but just she really gives it to people, and everything she says is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely is powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful women or people, period, in the United States in
definitely
that world, right?
Definitely. I think it was like the last episode when there was like a family trying to blackmail the president, and she was like, "I will ruin you, and this is how I will do it." And it was just really, it was pretty awesome.
Right. Cool.
Ashley, why don't you tell me or tell everyone a little bit about what a producer does?
So a producer really, there's all sorts of different producers, but the type of producer that I like to be is really just sort of putting together the project. You're really there to help support you're really there to help support the director to assemble everything that's needed to bring the director's vision to life and what they're trying to do. So, it's everything from, working on financing to helping, with casting, helping with, getting the crew together, figuring out locations, figuring out all the logistics, and really just making it as easy as possible for everyone once the team is assembled to really do their jobs and everybody to be doing what they're good at, and just making sure that everything flows really well. So that's sort of in production, and then there's a lot in post-production with well, really post-production and then into marketing, which is getting the film out there, which, I mean, once you've shot it, that's not even, I don't even know if that's the halfway point, you know, that's sort of almost the beginning, because then you have this product and you need to figure out how to make your investors' money back, how to get it out to as many people as possible, how to get people excited for the film, and I think, for me, I love doing that as a producer. So I think, you know, this type of producer that I am, I like to be involved in sort of all of those different stages and really just let the people shine at what they're good at and just make sure you've brought together a great team and given them all the tools that they need to be successful.
Cool. We have one question that came in about producing. Ashley specifically, the question is Ashley the main producer or the executive producer? Ash, I'm going to let you take that one.
So I'm a main producer along with Greta, who will be joining us here shortly. So like I said, I'm definitely like a hands-on producer. I think often we have an executive producer attached named James Belfer, and I think a lot of times executive producers are maybe a little more hands-off in terms of the actual logistics of the film and of the production and everything. So yeah, I would say Greta and I are sort of leading the team in every aspect, from development to pre-production to production to post-production and marketing. We'll be sort of on the front lines for all of that.
Cool. And I'm just going to answer another question that sort of is a follow-up to that, which is, what is the difference between a main producer and an executive producer? And you touched on that a little bit. Sometimes people say the executive producer is the money person, quote unquote. Either they brought the money on, literally, and they get an executive producer credit out of that. It's not always that. Sometimes the executive producer knows the people with money and they bring on the financiers and get the funding for the film. And other times it's just a role that is significant to the film that isn't defined by some other credit. So they bring some kind of expertise to the movie that nobody else does, and you assign them an executive producer credit.
Yeah.
Cool.
And there's also, I mean, there also are line producers and then associate producers would be the sort of two other, and co-producers. But a line producer is really someone who's on the ground, sort of running everything, even more than, you know, Greta and I, like, we may have a line producer that's working with us as well, and they're really helping with, you know, making sure catering arrived on time, making sure, you know, if they might be managing the locations if we don't have a location manager, like really doing the day-to-day stuff. That's your line producer. So.
Cool. We're just going to say hi to Greta. Hi, Greta.
Hi. I'm so sorry I'm late, everybody. I'm like 3 hours behind, like, I guess, in life and for this Google Hangout. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm trying to figure out my lower third at the moment. So I'm Greta.
Your time to do that. We just want to say hi. We'll introduce you when you're done, okay?
Wonderful. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Cool. Go on. Next question here.
Lauren, you are the co-founder of X-Factor Filmmakers. He's the other co-founder.
Right. So I wanted my dad to be on this Google Hangout tonight, but he is preparing to go to the Austin Film Festival like he does every year. So he's super busy. My dad is a graphic designer. He's my branding guru. He actually owns his own design firm here in the Boston area. So he is sort of moving from one company, that one, which he's been running for 20 plus years, to X-Factor Filmmakers as my co-founder. And he is a film buff, and he has been somebody who has been by my creative side, and I have been by his for a very long time. So we see eye to eye on a lot of things, and he's sort of been my business and branding person. So he's responsible for a lot of the website and a lot of the design and everything that we have for both the film and the company.
And what are you guys doing right now in X-Factor?
Like what projects are we working on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So right now we have a couple things going. We're basically building our audience. You guys, thank you for coming. And by doing things like this, we are curating daily from the site. It's Hannah and I do the blogging from the website, and it's all about our perspectives on what's coming out right now that we think is cool and fits our brand and we think that you guys will like. And on top of that, it is stuff that we like and stuff that we're seeing in the world, whether it's badass female characters that are fictional or real human beings that we think are really cool, that are awesome role models, that are breaking new ground, and that inspire us and make us feel powerful, to use that word again, in some way. And then we also have a few other interns working on the social media side of things, and Tumblr and Facebook and Twitter, etc. And that's just X-Factor, right? So then we have the film, which fits in as our debut feature film. So our goal is really to entertain constantly you guys and engage you constantly with stuff that we like and you like, while building you up to the big events, which are the feature films. So this will be our first time doing that, and we plan to shoot in the spring. And we are completing financing at the moment and looking at casting directors and locations. And then we will probably release the film to you guys about a year from now or a year after we shoot. So it would be early 2016, right? But we'll be bringing you on the journey through the entire way. And plug, if you sign up for the email list right now below this video on xfactorfilm.com, then that's one way that you can follow along. And also for today, for those of you who joined us a little bit after the beginning, if you sign up right there between now and midnight Pacific time, you can also read the script for Sweet Desert Palm. It's the first time we've been releasing it.
We got a question that says, Lauren, talk to us about the film and the thought process of your vision.
Cool. Wow, that's a big question. That's a really big question. First of all, I'm going to give a description of exactly what the film is about. It's not here, so I'm going to do it in my own words.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Cool. So Sweet Desert Palm started off as a short film, and I decided I didn't want to make a short film. I had done that a lot in college, and I did it a little bit out of college, and I just wanted to sort of go for it. So it was also the first feature film. I then turned it into a feature film script, and that was the first script that I ended up completing. I started a bunch, and this is the one that really stuck, the one that I loved, and the characters that I loved. So essentially, Sweet Desert Palm is a coming-of-age psychological thriller. It's about two teen girls who live in the desert in California, and one of them, the younger one, accidentally snaps and kills an arsonist when he sets fire to her beloved father's. We've got some kids in the background. So our main character kills this arsonist who violates her dad's gravesite, a man that she misses very much. And soon after she kills him, the authorities begin to close in on her crime, and she crosses paths with a strange wanderer, this Latina girl who's a little bit older than her. And they're both very troubled, these two girls, and when they cross paths, it becomes difficult for each of them to live the life that they want to, and they have to start learning from each other about themselves and how what they get upset about affects the people around them. And they basically have to grow together, and it's either going to bring them down together, or they can, you have to see the movie or read the script to see how it ends, but they're either going to sink or swim together or apart, essentially. It's a slightly violent film, I would say. It's definitely not autobiographical, but I did put parts of myself in each of these characters, and also parts of other people that I've known throughout my life who I both understand and don't understand, or sort of learn to understand through writing these characters. And for me, I grew up in Boston, or outside of Boston, and when I went to California, I drove across the country. and I drove through the desert. And that was the first time I'd seen a landscape like that. So when I was in Los Angeles, I would go to the desert often and escape there. So I started sort of imagining what it would be like to grow up there instead of a suburb of Boston, which is dramatically different. So I kind of embedded myself in that world and just created something that felt as authentic as it possibly could.
Ashley, do you want to tell us a little bit about why you wanted to work on this project?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I met, like I said, we met in New York when Lauren was here through Dogfish, and she basically followed. I think we met. You know, we enjoyed chatting, and she basically followed up with me, I think, a couple weeks later, and had said that the people that were running Dogfish had recommended that we connect, you know, about this project. She was looking for a producer. So we had a good conversation. She sent me the script. I read it. I just really, you know, I really loved what Lauren was doing. I loved the characters. I loved, you know, the genre. But, you know, you could really picture what the landscape was going to look like. It was very visual. And the story, you know, I liked that it was about younger people, and it was female focused, and I was drawn to the story. I was drawn to Lauren, you know, and her ideas. So it wasn't hard to convince me to get on board. I think I said yes pretty quickly. So yeah, I'm really excited. I think we have something great, and I think we can, you know, there's a lot of, I think that there'll be a great response from the community that we're trying to target it at, you know, so I think we have some great ideas to reach them, and I think it'll be a great project.
Another question, Lauren, what was the biggest obstacle you faced while making Sweet Desert Prom, and how did you overcome it?
So to clarify, we haven't made Sweet Desert Prom yet. We did shoot a concept teaser, which maybe is the question that I can answer, or I'll answer two questions. One is about the concept teaser and how hard that was to make, and the other one would be just the whole process in getting to this point with the film. You know, audiences don't often see what goes on behind the scenes, and when they do see behind the scenes, it very often is about production, and we're not even at that point yet, and we've been working for 2 years. So there's a whole other process that goes on, so maybe I'll talk about that for a second. I started writing the script late 2011, early 2012, and I went through a huge learning process in terms of writing. In film school, we learned a lot about writing short films, and we watched a lot of feature films, but we didn't really learn a ton about writing feature films or shooting them, really. So that is a whole other process. So I went through, after I wrote a couple drafts, I knew that I wanted to create some sort of visual teaser, whether it was a short scene from the script or an actual proof of concept teaser, which is what we ended up doing. And we decided to go that route because it gave sort of a more full-fledged picture of what it was going to be. And besides that, it was still kind of a loose concept. At 1 or 2 drafts in, you really have a mood and some basic characters. You don't have all the exact plot points yet and the arc of what everything means and what the point of the whole film is until you really finish it. So we decided to make a concept teaser that was really sort of a mood piece. And we learned a lot from that process, but what was really fascinating about it was that I got to work with actors really early. We hired them specifically for that reason. We hired them for the concept teaser, and they worked with me. They talked through their own characters with me, and I learned more about them, and then that made a more vivid experience for me when I continued to write them. One thing we did learn that was kind of a problem shooting that, and these 2 ladies weren't with me yet, but the team that I worked with in Los Angeles before I met these 2 girls to shoot that, we went into the desert really late spring, early summer, and it got up to 110 degrees in the desert when we were there, and it was really quite troubling, and we had to hike a little ways in the sun too in order to get to that oasis that we shoot in. So we had tons of water, and I had great sports, friends of mine like carrying coolers of stuff, etc. So it was an interesting experience.
Is the film going to be shot on location or on green screen?
I don't think we're going to use any green screen, right?
I don't think so.
No, I think we're pretty much going to be on location. Right now we're looking in the Tucson, Arizona area, but that's not solidified yet. There are very few actual palm tree oases, which is one of the requirements of the film. It's sort of a character of the film in the United States. And really we found in California and Arizona. So we just have to make sure that we have everything we need in those areas.
Greta's here.
Greta!
Hi. Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Welcome, belated welcome to me, I guess. I'm here. I'm so sorry I'm late. I have been listening to a lot of your questions, though, and they're wonderful questions, and we're really excited to make this film. I don't know if this is something you've talked about, but the marketing to audiences I'm super excited about, and that's something that, you know, we're trying to start with this Google Hangout that Hannah's done so beautifully. Is we're really trying to get in touch with you all and see what you want to see, and let you really be a part of this process, because we are definitely venturing on new territory here with X-Factor Films and with this first project.
Awesome. Yeah, you're totally right. We will get to a little bit of that, but Greta, can you introduce yourself? Greta is a producer on the film, but also just a little bit of your background, and you're currently working to distribute a movie that you made before.
Yeah, so a bit about me. I'm in Los Angeles right now. It's still kind of light outside, if you can see towards the window. And I went to USC, and I graduated with degrees in theater and broadcast journalism from there, although I did collaborate a lot with people who were at the film school. Then I went on to start my own production company right out of college, and I made a feature documentary that won the Grand Jury Prize at CineQuest, and we're going to be releasing in New York and LA. That's where I just was, meeting with my booking agent in January. So I'm sure, you know, X-Factor will tweet some more about that if you want to check out that film. Very different from what X-Factor is doing, but when I met Lauren and Ashley at Sundance and heard about what they were working on, I was like, this sounds so cool. This is exactly like the next kind of project I wanted to do. I wanted to move more back into narrative feature, and yeah, and I'm very, very excited. I'm also working on another documentary right now with the Gates Foundation about global sanitation. And so yeah, so I'm working on a couple different projects, but this one is very near and dear to my heart, because I think it's something really special and something really needed in this climate film right now.
And the film that you are currently distributing?
Currently distributing, I should have said the title. Yep, it's called Bite Size. And you can check us out on Twitter and on Facebook. We are going to be released through Bond 360. We'll be up on iTunes. We'll be up on Hulu, Netflix, so you can definitely check out the film there. And a side note about that, I worked on that film with 4 other men, so I was the only woman. And that's another reason why working with X-Factor, it's just incredible and very different. Not necessarily better, but very different and awesome to work with a female group and, you know, director and producer. And I'm just so excited to be here.
Cool. Now that everyone's here, why don't you guys talk a little bit about the importance of a balanced team? Lauren, do you want to start?
Yes, please. So one thing I've tried to observe about other films that I've been on, feature films, is the team that they've had and how that's helped them or hurt them in different ways. And I think that I have an entrepreneurial spirit, and I'm starting this company with the help of many people. I have a lot of mentors. We are part of an incubator here in Boston. We know we can't do it ourselves. There's just so much I don't know. And I'm the creative on the film. I'm the main creative on the film. So I said, okay, I need to make sure that I'm building a team around me that knows the stuff that I don't and wants to do the stuff that I don't, right? So in comes Ashley and Greta, and for me, I think producers are it's one of the hardest roles to come by. And there are a lot of people who produce sort of out of necessity. I'm one of those people. I don't want to be a producer for the rest of my life, so I really needed to find people that were good at the other stuff. And on top of that, we make sure that we reach out to people constantly about things that we don't know. I mean, for us, Greta has produced a documentary, but for the rest of us, this is our first feature film. So we're constantly reaching out to our contacts and saying, hey, you're in casting, hey, you're in locations, hey, you're in financing, please meet with us and read the script and talk to us about what our plans are, help us improve this in some way. And then we also talk to you guys. I mean, we connect directly with you guys on Twitter, and we're doing it with you right now, and we're sort of learning how our core audience consumes things and how they want to consume things by the time we release this, because it takes a while to make a movie, right? Anything you two want to add to sort of the balance of a team?
Yeah, I mean, I think filmmaking is such an amazing industry because it is so collaborative, you know, and one person, I mean, I suppose someone out there has, but one person really can't make a film all by themselves. You know, it really is this team, and it really is a group vision and everyone working together, and that's what I love about it. You come out of it with like sort of like a family that has worked together for a few days or a few weeks or whatever the production schedule is. So I think it is really important to work with. I like to work with people with, you know, with very little ego, so that, you know, people that are willing to ask questions if they need help with something and willing to admit when they don't know everything, because someone in the room is going to know, you know, someone in the room is going to have the answers. So as long as you're open to putting it out there that you don't know everything, I think that's a great way to be in filmmaking. And yeah, so it's definitely a collaboration of amazing talents.
I think you guys covered it. I mean, essentially one of the biggest things that I learned on my last film, and that I'm learning with this, and that Lauren is doing so well, which is why I wanted to join the team, is you bring people, you surround yourself with people who know more than you do and who have different talents than you do. And that way you really can't fail. And that's why I think the film is going to do so well, because everybody brings, Ashley has like this amazing organizational brain that brings so much like background and like finance background, and she's just like so solid on that end, and Lauren has an amazing script, and I'm like somewhere in the middle of those two, like in the middle of that. Yeah, I think I like connect because I'm kind of a creative and I have experience with budget, with logistics, with all that, but it's really amazing, and I feel like I get to learn from both of them, so I feel really lucky. Yeah, it's about working with people who are willing to learn and who are willing to share what they know with you. And in that way, you know, nobody's ego gets in the way, and that's, I think, something that people always think goes along with filmmaking, but it doesn't have to. You don't have to be a jerk. You don't have to know everything. And like Ashley said, if you don't, it's actually probably better, because then you'll stumble upon these, you know, these things that you never thought you would learn, or these cool opportunities, or actors, or, you know, whatever that might be, that really create great films in the end.
Cool. Should we answer some of those?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, how are you using YouTube for audience building? Are you producing relatable content as well as curating cool X-Factory things?
I'm going to use that X-Factory. So, Ashley, I think you should talk about this a little bit, but we've learned a lot from YouTubers, and we're not quite as good at what they do, but that's one of our goals, is to really create sort of an environment where we are not just curating other things on a daily basis, but also get to the point where we have enough capital, enough fundraising, enough time and resources and people to create things that are ours, that are original, that we can release to you guys. And another thing we want to do is partner with creators who fit under our badass mentality, and we can work together to release things through X-Factor to our audience. And so we're using YouTube right now. We're going to use it a lot more for behind-the-scenes stuff, especially as we shoot. But Ash, can you talk a little bit about what we admire about YouTubers?
Well, first of all, I'm really on a campaign. I'm really on a campaign to get Lauren to be a vlogger. So if you guys want to help me out, please comment below and say, yes, we want to see Lauren do weekly vlogs, and or send her an email and tell her how awesome she would be as a vlogger, because my goal is to make her a vlogger, but so far it has not happened. But anyways, we definitely want to utilize YouTube and, like Lauren said, do some creative content ourselves. Also, just curating things in the X-Factor channel. And I think there's such I love the YouTube as a medium. There's so many people that are doing these amazing things on it and amassing these huge audiences, and they're just some of them are just doing daily videos where they talk about their life or a topic or whatever, and I think people really respond to that because you feel very connected. It's just someone in front of their computer or maybe in front of a camera just sort of espousing on life and their opinions, and they're very real. They kind of let you into their world, and I think there's a lot of power to that, and it sort of gives anyone with a camera or a computer the ability to put yourself out there and maybe get a little fan base, or a huge fan base in some cases. So I definitely think we'll experiment a lot with what we can do with YouTube and how we can build the X-Factor audience as well as the Sweet Desert Palm audience through that medium.
Yeah. Oh no, we've got people commenting.
Do they want you to be a vlogger?
All right, okay. You guys, tell me what to talk about. What do you want me to talk about? I'm serious. Answer that question. What would I talk about in my daily vlogs? Today, I sat in front of my computer and emailed tons of casting directors to see if they want to work with me. End of story. Let's see, what's next? Should we answer another question?
Yeah. How about, have you thought, that one?
Yeah.
Have you thought of going the route of crowdfunding to pay for your film?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about this. And there's new companies out there dedicated to filmmakers doing this. If you guys don't know about Seed and Spark, check them out. We have talked about it a lot. We know that the bigger your audience, the more successful your crowdfunding campaign, right? So for us, we were sort of like, we know statistically that we can get this much money based on how big our reach is right now, but we need more than that for what we want to do. So Greta and or Ash, can one of you talk a little bit about how we plan on using crowdfunding later on during this?
Sure, absolutely. Unless, Ashley, do you want to take it?
You can take it.
Okay, sorry. There's a delay on my end. So crowdfunding is great. I think the thing about crowdfunding that's very, very deceptive, especially with film, is that people think that if you have good content, that immediately you can make all this money, you can raise all this money, and actually crowdfunding in like the best case scenario, that would be amazing. But what you need to have in order to have a successful crowdfunding campaign is you need to have an audience already. You need to have people who are interested. So what we would really like to do is start building our audience, and then later on down the line, once we have built this audience, then we have people to reach out to. Then we have like an army where we can call on you guys and we can say, hey, share with your friends, and then exponentially we can reach out to people. Because doing a crowdfunding campaign is a full-time job. And in the case of like Veronica Mars, which I think was like the most up-to-date, like it was the most successful film crowdfunding campaign, they were really lucky because they already had a built-in audience. And with X-Factor and Sweet Desert Palm, we're lucky because Lauren, from the very beginning, was like, I'm going to get this out to people. And like Ashley, I second what Ashley says. Lauren should definitely be a vlogger because her ability to like contact people and reach out to them and make them care is incredible. Like, speaking of YouTubers, I think Lauren
emailing and tweeting at people.
like Lauren will be like, I'll be like, how did you meet that person? They're like, she's like, oh, I saw their YouTube video and reached out, or oh, like I wrote this blog and then they saw it and they liked it, and she's an amazing connector, especially online. So so definitely vote for her to be a blogger. But that's how you execute a successful crowdfunding campaign, is you build that audience, and then once you have something to push, once we have a trailer, once we have we do have like our concept teaser, but something like that, and then we have a specific goal towards that we're working towards, and we have an audience that is large enough, and we have a very like a very specific strategy, because if you don't have specific strategy, crowdfunding, it just won't work, and it can be kind of like it can be kind of depressing because you have high hopes that everyone's going to love your product, and then when you don't get fully funded, you're like, oh, nobody likes it. That's not the truth. It's just maybe not enough eyeballs saw it. So we're really hoping in the future to build that audience, and once we do, especially for X-Factor, we can use Sweet Desert Palm much later down the line to crowdfund and show people this incredible product that we've made.
Cool, thank you. Got more stuff coming in here.
What are your current thoughts on the best way for indies to get distribution? Is traditional distribution a realistic goal, or do indies need to think more creatively?
This is a good one.
Absolutely.
There is a lot on this, and it's quickly shifting right now because because of the internet. I mean, the only reason we can be doing this right now is because of the internet, right? The only reason I can say I want X-Factor Filmmakers to be a direct-to-fan studio as much as possible is because of the internet. So I think that indies have to think about what works in the traditional sense and what is working online. Right now, VOD sales, which is short for video on demand, but really covers anything from cable VOD, like pay-per-view on your television, to Netflix and iTunes and Amazon and the rest of those platforms. That is the biggest moneymaker for indies of like our size, basically. So yes, you need to be really thinking about, okay, how do I get on those platforms, and then how do I use the audience that I have to get them onto those platforms or reach them in any way that they want to consume media. So for us, we're doing kind of a hybrid, and I think that the more creatively you can think, the better. When I met Ashley, one of the reasons why I really wanted to work with her was because she found a way to take a short film to Comic-Con, right? Was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And build an excitement around that short film, which is like unheard of at a festival, and get people, audience members, to like run around completing tasks and, finding the actors at Comic-Con and stuff like that. And people got so into this and got super excited, and she built an audience that way. And I was like, what can you imagine doing? Like, just applying a little bit of that creativity to a feature film would be great. So, Ash, can you touch a little bit on our sort of hybrid method of distribution and maybe why we're spending a lot of our money on what's untraditional, which is the marketing and distribution side?
Right. So we're spending about nearly half of our total budget that we're raising is going to actually go to marketing and to getting our film out there, because I think in today's climate, in today's industry, you don't want to be. I think it's great if you can get if you can get an all rights distribution deal and make your investors back a ton of money, going that route, then that's the dream. You get picked up at Sundance, whatever. But I think as an independent film, it is so competitive out there, and for all of those success stories you hear, there's way more sort of, let's say, non-success stories, or where people made this great film and maybe just couldn't get it out there, they couldn't get the right distribution deal, couldn't make any money on it. And so, you know, as an entrepreneur, I'm really all about taking control of your sort of destiny or control of your fate. So I think for our film, or for any film that I'm involved in, I would hate to only be relying on someone else coming in and saying, okay, yes, I want to distribute this, and yes, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars to do that. I feel like it's a better strategy to have a plan in place and really have a hybrid model where you can talk to those distributors, but you also know that you yourself, or we as a team, can go out and take this film to, you know, college campuses, or you know, whatever sort of, we have a lot of different plans that we can do. But really, we're allowing ourselves the budget and the ability to market it ourselves, so that if that big deal at Sundance doesn't happen, we're not, you know, we're still like, okay, that's great, because we already have this other plan and we're going to follow it, and we have, you know, we have fans, we have an audience, we know how to get them. We've had some really creative strategies that we've set in motion that we can reach them, and it really gives you, I don't know, I think it really empowers filmmakers. And in today's world of, you know, online and the way that people are consuming media, you can really, there's a lot of doors that are open and that you can go through, and a lot of different ways that you can reach your audience. So I think indie producers, indie filmmakers are really empowered right now. I think it's really exciting to sort of reach out and get the audience yourselves. Like, that's, to me, that's not scary, that's like thrilling. I think it's really exciting. So we're definitely doing like a combination strategy where we're not, you know, we're not totally rejecting this old model, but we're going to try to maybe use that model and also sort of use our own ideas and our own sort of marketing budget to get the film out there.
Absolutely. To piggyback on that and sum it up, just there are no rules in independent distribution right now. And what Ashley was saying, that's like something that can be really scary, but for our team, we're, like Ashley said, we're thrilled because we can do just, you know, it's the wild, wild west still with the internet and with independent film distribution. And that allows us to go to the traditional route if we want, or do just about anything. Bring a film to Comic-Con, bring, you know, bring a film to Netflix, do something that nobody's ever heard of, which we're really hoping to, you know, to break down some barriers with that and, you know, create some new and exciting ways for audiences to access new films.
Talking about Sweet Desert Palm, where is it?
This one?
This one, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So for Sweet Desert Palm, I think you should answer this question, but for Sweet Desert Palm.
Okay.
What concessions and compromises are the most likely to anticipate shooting your script on an independent budget?
Right. That's a good question. Why don't you tell us? Because that's what we're working on right now. Ashley has been really heavily been in the budgeting of things, but we've been learning as we talk to different people about, like, how much would this actor cost? How much would this actor cost? How much do locations cost? Oh, can we make a deal with Airbnb to stay, like, bring our cast and crew for way cheaper and have them, you know, be a brand sponsor of some kind at our events or whatever it is. You find all different ways to cut costs. I think what we've found so far is if you want to get actors that have some kind of name, that, you know, that they're not completely unknown actors, that can be the best choice for a role. But if you are looking for something else, if you need the sort of financial pull, whether to convince financiers or to get people to come see your movie, that's a big cost. That's something that you really have to budget for. You can't sort of just say, oh, we're going to pay everybody $100 a day, or whatever it is. If you want somebody specific, you're going to have to figure out how much money that person might want, or that sort of caliber of person, and go after it. And that has to be clear with your financiers. That's the one that we're dealing with right now. But ladies, maybe you cover a little bit more of that. the compromises in anticipating shooting the script on an independent budget?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely there's going to be a world of compromises, I guess, on our budget and sort of really on any budget. I mean, on any budget that's less than these sort of millions and millions that the studios are able to spend. But in some ways, I think that it kind of makes it interesting. It makes you be creative, like Lauren was saying. I mean, you have to think about, can we get these sponsors on board? How can we creatively, we know that it traditionally cost X to do what we want to do. Now let's think about, can we still get what we want, but in a different way? Is there a way to sort of think outside the box? And it's about making choices. So it's identifying what's really important and what's not. And so what you're compromising. There's certain things that maybe you say we can't really compromise on A, B, and C, but therefore we're going to have to compromise on D, E, and F, because we're going to put the money towards those 3 things that are maybe Lauren's highest priority. And I think Greta and I, there will be times when we'll have to say, well, Lauren, you can kind of either do A or B, and so what's more important to you? And yeah, I think, I don't know, sometimes I think it's kind of fun in a way to work within those boxes, and it makes you be really, really creative about what you're doing, and it makes you be really smart about what you're doing. So yeah, I mean, it can be limiting, obviously, but I think you can look at it in a really negative way, like, oh man, I wish it's too bad I don't have more money, I can't do what I want, I don't have enough money. Or you can look at it as like, well, I have this much money and I'm going to figure out how to spend it in the best way that I possibly can, and be really positive about it. So I think so far our team has been really great about thinking of, outside the box about how we can spend what we have in the most efficient way.
Yeah. It also helps us make decisions easier. If you can't afford something, then if you don't have the money to put it there, then you don't have the money. It's like I could go shopping, at like Barney's every day, and I'm not going to buy the thing in the window, but I could go somewhere else. And that's kind of what we're, it almost makes it easier, because we know, okay, we can spend this much, and if something's like way out of our price range, then the decision's made. If it costs like $100,000 to shoot at this location, our decision's made that we won't shoot there. Bittersweet, but I'm trying to, yeah, like Ashley said, it's a positive. We're going to make choices, and we'll make them quickly, and it'll be a little bit more decisive.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, really, with film, you do have a duty to your investors. Like we want to make their money back. I mean, from a producing standpoint, it's very important to me for the director to get their vision, but it's also really important to me to give the investors back what we've sort of promised. So I think that on a lower budget, you really are mindful of what you're spending, and you want to actually keep the budget as low as possible to maximize their return. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, so just switching gears a little bit, do you have any ideas on what music or songs you might want in your film, and how does that process work?
I'm so glad somebody asked this question. Generally, what I've been finding in the last few years, actually probably since I started writing when I was 16, I don't really know. I love music, and music is one of the things that starts a lot of my ideas. So I have playlists for movies that I will never actually make, and I continuously add to them all the time. And I think at the time, Sweet Desert Palm was just the one that had the biggest playlist, really. And it actually started off before I wrote the short film for Sweet Desert Palm. I wrote Sweet Desert Palm, a version of it sort of as a music video concept that I was just going to use for my reel, like shoot it based on Nancy Sinatra's Bang Bang, I Shot You Down. And that was the kernel music piece that I put in the playlist, and everything built around that. So naturally the film has sort of this like twisted 60s female pop sound to it, in addition to like the good, the bad, and the ugly kind of thing. I think for me, each character has a certain type of music too. At first, I broke them out into characters, and there were three main characters who had three of the main characters who had each their own playlist, and that really helped me form who they were and like what they get angry about and what it sounds like when they feel sad. And like if Sienna, the secondary character, is walking through the desert and something just happened to her and she's deciding that she's going to take revenge, like what that sound is. And that helps me inform, okay, how do I write that into the script without necessarily saying like, you know, deep drums beat in the distance of the desert or something like that. I could write it like that, but instead I go like, how do you translate that to visuals? I also wish that my music supervisor were here, Ben Taylor. He is already attached to the project, and he's also a composer. And we've been talking about this since I first started creating the playlist, and he's listened to it and just gets what I'm trying to do. But the tricky part is how do you actually go about getting that music? I mean, music is expensive, so if you want a music-heavy film, which I think this probably will be, how do you do that? Are you getting original songs? Are you composing? I think it's going to be a mix of both in this case. I think we're going to probably work with up-and-coming artists who have cool things. There's also tons of platforms out there now that have music on them that you can purchase that's already been made. One really good one that I've been using lately for film specifically is themusicbed.com, and they have a lot of really great artists on there. And it's really for like stories for film as opposed to like corporate music, which a lot of them are for. So it comes down to how savvy we can be with partnering with people who are up and coming just like us, and how much money we have. And luckily I have friends who are really talented musicians, whether it be that they're singer-songwriters or composers who can create instrumental pieces, and they have friends who play drums and violin, or they do themselves. So it's kind of a hodgepodge mixture. But if you wanted to get some, you know, famous song, that's a much different process, and you have to go through the companies that own that. You can't go like directly to Beyonce and ask her if she would even be able to sell it to you. So it depends on sort of what level you're working on.
And Sweet Desert Palm playlist on your Spotify, right?
Yeah, and we actually, if you go to xfactorfilm.com and you go to the Sweet Desert Prom section at the top in the menu and about the movie, we actually have the Sweet Desert Prom playlist that's in Spotify. It's public, so you can go and listen to it right now if you want to.
Who were the actors you hired for the concept trailer?
Yeah. So I know at least one of them is listening right now. Cole Bernstein played the main character, whose name is Noah, and she lives in Los Angeles and is an up-and-coming actress that has been in The Bridge and is going to be in a new show whose name I'm forgetting right now. I feel awful. If you're here, comment and tell us what it is so I can tell them to watch for you on it, Cole. So she played Noah. Actor Bruno Gunn was the guy in it, and that character's name is Eli. He was in the last Hunger Games movie and is just an awesome guy. He had that deep voice that was narrating through a lot of the concept teaser. And Elizabeth Brissenden, who also goes as Machete Bang Bang online. She's a dancer and an actress, and actually also a filmmaker in her own right. She played the character who in the script is now Latina. She's, I don't think she's Latina, but at the time when we were shooting the concept teaser, that character, Sienna, wasn't yet Mexican-American, and now she is. So those are the actors, and they're all fantastic.
How close are you to filming? What are some of the biggest things that need to be done before you can start filming?
Money. That's really always the biggest thing, right? I think it's money, and not necessarily in this order. money, actors, like organization of the people of locations. Sort of in that order, but they like kind of mix around. Ash, maybe talk a little bit about your short film shoot in the desert that you did recently and how that sort of relates, the process that you went through there, like how you maybe expand that into answering this question.
Yeah, I did I was a producer on a short film that shot in El Paso, Texas, in the desert outside El Paso in September. And it was a 5-day shoot with a crew of about, there's about 30 people on set every day. So it's actually a fairly big, it was a well-funded, good-sized production for a short film. And basically the sort of budget that we would spend over 5 days, it was sort of budgeted the same way that our feature is budgeted if you would sort of expand out those days, So it was really great to just see sort of the unique aspects that we're going to be facing when shooting in a desert. So I really got to, sort of not really experiment, but just see what was working, what didn't work, what we definitely need to take into consideration, what we might want to change, from that experience. So it was kind of like a mini trial run of shooting in the desert. So for me, I had some great, I came back with some great insights that I shared with Lauren and Greta, and things that I could put into the budget with some really sort of solid numbers of what I had experienced and what I knew we needed. So it was great. It was great timing. It was really cool to be a part of that project because it really feeds right into what we're doing with Sweet Desert Palm. So it was a great experience.
And there was a lot more water consumed than you had originally thought.
Right. So I've done several short films and music. We've been hired to do music videos, and I produced many productions, but so I sort of know over a certain amount of days like how much water we're going to need, how much food. There's just sort of things that are just like per day things that you need, no matter how many days your shoot is. You can kind of just like multiply them out. But the water definitely way overshot sort of any other shoot I've done, because I've never shot in the desert before, and you are just chugging water all day long, and you don't even realize that you're so thirsty, but everyone was just consuming like 5 times as much water as like a usual average on set. So that was interesting. So I immediately went in and was like, we need more water in our budget, which I wouldn't have known if I hadn't. I guess I could have guessed that we would need more water, but it was way more than I thought we would need. So.
And I personally want a sunscreen sponsor, like a craft services sunscreen table for the desert. Like that's what I'm angling for. So
we're really pale girls. Like,
if anybody knows any really good sunscreen sponsors that want to be part of making a movie, let us know.
Yeah, that was something we spent money on on sunscreen and bug spray, which I've never spent money on for a set before. So,
makes sense.
Yeah.
And to finish answering Jenna's question, how close we are to filming, sort of depends on a couple things. Spring is when we're aiming for, like early to mid-spring. We can't shoot in the summertime. I learned that the hard way before. And sorry, Cole. And and her mom, who came on set and was amazing. But also it depends on the final actors that we hire when they're available, right? Because if they're shooting, television shows or another movie or something like that, and we know that we want them, then we're going to have to work around them, that kind of thing. So there's going to be a little bit of give and take. Cole has let me know which show that she's going to be on, and it's Secrets and Lies, and it will be on ABC starting in January. So look for Cole there, and watch the concept teaser again so you can recognize her face. Thanks, Cole. Let's see, do we have any other questions right now?
How are you planning to take advantage of technology when it comes to reaching your audience and distributing the film? Are there any strategies you're thinking of that are unique?
One of the things that's new that documentaries have really taken advantage of, and I don't know if you guys are doing this for Bite Size, Greta, is going direct to fan directly off of the film's website. There are, cool. So there are plenty of documentaries that have done this. There are actually YouTubers who recently made a film, their first feature film. They were like comedy YouTubers, these three girls that got together, that had a bunch of fans. They each had, like, one had 1.5 million, one had, like, I think 0.5, and the other one had 0.5 million. So it totaled a pretty good amount of fans, and they decided to make a feature film together. And then they were just like, we're going to release it off our website and iTunes, and that's it. We don't care about anything else. They, like, skipped the whole festival route. And I love the idea of that, because while festivals are really great in a lot of respects, it takes a really long time to get into them. It's not guaranteed. And then you're looking for a distribution deal, and you maybe get it, you maybe don't get it. But if you have a big enough audience, you can go straight to your fans. So I love the idea of, like, having a worldwide premiere on the web and just being like, we are watching the film for the first time with everybody for, like, this much money. You pay to get in at, like, 5 p.m. on Sunday, whatever, you know what I mean? And, like, the whole world tunes in and watches. I think that's the coolest thing ever, because it's super personal, and it's like having a theater that's massive, right? And I'm sure there would be ways to, like, have Twitter chats about it and that kind of thing. I think that's really cool. I always like seeing stuff on a big screen, of course. But at the end of the day, I mean, these are the new exciting things that are happening next, so why not be a part of that? You guys have anything to add to that concept? Technology changing, distribution?
I think we kind of touched on it before with, like, the whole hybrid distribution question that we answered. And I think, I think that Lauren, if we had, like, that would be amazing if we just did an online release, then we can include more people. And that's what's so amazing about the internet. And festivals are also really expensive. You know, there's a lot of prestige that come with the laurels. But there's a ton of expenses that go along with that, and it doesn't necessarily it doesn't convert to sales. And so, like Ashley said, we have a responsibility to our investors to use our money wisely, and to make sure we make that money back. So if we can, do what a YouTuber does and just, yell out to our fans and say, hey, come online, pay some money and watch the film, then, I mean, then that's, like, the best way to go, and then everybody wins.
Cool. We have a question, will there be any stunts? Yes.
Lauren's doing all of them. She's doing all of the stunts.
There will be fire effects. There will be shooting, and there was a car chase at one point, or a truck chase, I should say, because there's really only trucks in my movie. And, like, a police car. But I took it out for a number of reasons, one of them being because I knew it was going to be really expensive. And I think there's one other thing that will probably be sort of stunt-like, but I think having a character that's supposed to be really good at shooting a gun, and me being a person who's only been to a shooting range once in my life, but watched a lot of crime shows, I need to make sure that I'm portraying that accurately and not in the way that I'm, like, copying from some crime show that did it wrong or something like that. So there are some people that we can reach out to, and one of which I've met already who have, been on the police force, or people who have been stunt women or men and can sort of help our main actors figure out how to use this stuff in the right way. But that's going to be a learning process for sure. Yeah, so we are a little bit over now. Is there anything else major that we want to touch on before we finish up?
Why don't you guys talk about really quick what it's like to make a movie together all from different cities?
Oh, right. Well, again, the internet. It wouldn't be possible without it. I mean, I realized that I haven't seen Greta in person since we met. almost a year ago. And I don't think about that often because I feel like we're with each other all the time. So it's like I forgot that I wasn't in New York City anymore.
We talk more than I talk to some of my family members. So extended family, but yeah. It's the way that people are doing it. People are writing scripts, uploading, from different coasts and uploading, versions to Dropbox. And so it's actually not that out of the ordinary to have people in 3 different cities, 2 different coasts. It's actually pretty common.
Yeah. I mean, my dad and I were long distance for a long time when he was here in the Boston area running his company, and I was still in Los Angeles working up a script and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with X-Factor. And what gets difficult is the time difference, I would say. This doesn't have to do with this project, but I talked to 2 women in Australia who wrote this script that I'm interested in, and I have another meeting with them tomorrow. And we have to meet at 8 in the morning here, Eastern time, because it's 8 p.m. there. And so they're really tired, and I'm really tired, but for different reasons. And but I found them online. Like, they had done really well in the script competition, and I liked the idea for the script. And I was like, hey, we might want to work together in the future. So, let's make this thing under X-Factor, or whatever it is. But mainly, the biggest problem is, like, Greta was still at work, and everyone here is, like, getting ready to go to bed. So we had to decide, when are we going to do this Google Hangout, right? Sort of like some happy medium. And otherwise, it's like, okay, if we really need to have a sit-down with somebody, then I need to go to New York, or one of us needs to fly to another city. But on the other hand, we sort of have access to resources from all these different cities. And while Boston isn't a heavy film industry, there is a lot of money here. And so we're talking to a lot of investors here, while Ashley has a lot of contacts in independent film in New York, and Greta's in Los Angeles. So if we need to, sit down with an actor or something, like within a day or 2, she can go do that. Like, we don't have to all fly there, kind of thing. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Well, you guys stuck with us. Thank you for going about 15 minutes over here. Just to sort of wrap up, again, we have the script to give away to you guys if you'd like it. So if you're not already signed up for our email list at xfactorfilm.com, you can do that between now and 12, I might have said p.m. earlier, 12 a.m., like midnight Pacific time. If you sign up for the email list before then we will send you the script within 24 hours. And if you already signed up for the email list, then you can fill out the form at this Google Hangout page on our site. And if you're not at it, it's xfactorfilm.com/Google Hangouts. Pretty simple. And fill out one of those 2 forms and just let us know that you want the script, and we'll give it to you. Otherwise, we really appreciate you guys coming and attending this and asking questions, and we're going to do stuff like this in the future. The next date for a Google Hangout is to be decided, but again, we're bringing you along as we make this movie and continue to build the company and the audience. So stick with us. Cool. Do they just want to say anything else?
No, I'm really excited that y'all joined us, and we're looking forward to doing this again. I think it was a lot of fun. This is my first Google, I think all of us, our first Google Hangout. So it was definitely really cool, and I'm ecstatic that we had, viewers, and that you guys, either stayed up, here on the East Coast or got out of work early over on the West Coast and joined us. So hopefully this is something that we start doing regularly and start, growing the numbers every time. So tell your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Be part of our online army. We would love nothing more. And we always welcome all comments, all thoughts, all suggestions. Something that's really great about Lauren is that she really loves feedback, and most directors don't like feedback, but she does, and I know I do, and I'm sure Ashley would as well. So if you have any thoughts, we'd love to hear, and we'd love for you to keep connecting with us online.
All right. Thank you, everybody. This was a blast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.